Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snowfell Charm School, where we use tarot cards to analyze personality and we use personality to analyze relationships. I'm your host, Evangeline, and I am going to start with a little bit of a serotonin boost. I'm just going to use these two tools to imbue a bit of serotonin into the environment. I think that it's a basis for all relationship connections, and I want our interactions to be as pleasant as possible. So, um, while I usually use the flowers to brush off energy, but I'm learning to accept all energies. All energies are welcome. All energies will be utilized as best they can, um, or simply ignored. So I'm going to use this crystal to imbue a little bit of serotonin into the atmosphere, into your aura, into my aura. And while I do that, I'll explain a few things. First off, all of my reviews are based off of the Big Five personality assessment, as long as the DSM-5 personality disorders. There are 10 disorders in the DSM-5. I included two more in my personal system, including stable personality and social personality. Stable is probably best understood as more of a neutral or almost kind of catatonic, catatonic state. So this is like not being affected by anything type of energy. Social is going to be a little bit more manic, a little bit more reactive energy. Okay. All of my reviews are on a particular spectrum. So depending on your level of openness or conscientiousness, your processing can be a lot different depending on your alignment, depending on your environment. Your traits can be expressed in a different way, but categorically, I use 12 different personality types based off of levels of extroversion, agreeability, and where the priority is in those situations. I do think that personality, you can switch, go back to flip flop from different personalities. Um, Again, depending on your like more neutral state, I do think personalities are a bit of a coping mechanism. I think they are developed in having to interact with other people. Um, so you can feel, for example, avoidant around certain people, but your natural baseline could be borderline, something like that. Um, Again, it has to do with your level of extroversion and your level of agreeability and where you put your priority. Okay, I think that's a good bit of serotonin for the environment. I will go through things as best I can. I'm going to use the tarot cards as I'm going to use the tarot cards to lay out a case study. So it's going to be an imaginary person in which we are going to analyze. We'll talk about how that particular personality interacts with other personalities. We'll also talk about how that personality reacts to serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. Or at least I'll try to. Sometimes I don't get around to it, especially if it's a reading that if it's a personality type I've already reviewed. I might not go heavily into how they produce these chemicals. The reason why I look at these three chemicals is because the combination of them promotes what I can view as a soulmate type of relationship, all right, or a very long-term, consistent, loving, and affirming relationship. There are a few personality types that do not concern themselves with the idea of a soulmate or a loving relationship in which I have just described. And then there are some personality types that are have a little bit more access to that based off their natural essence. I do think that love comes from within you, not from out of you. So it's important for an individual to invoke a loving essence in order to achieve a loving relationship. Without a loving essence, you will not have a loving relationship at all, or not for very long. I do go into a little bit of how certain traits can elevate themselves to a soulmate status. Again, this depends on your goals. All right, so the word elevate might be different to you depending on where you want to be in your relationships. Some people don't want a open, understanding, exciting, fun, and peaceful relationship. Sometimes people just want drama, or sometimes people just want peace. Sometimes people don't want both. All right. I also think that it's important to understand where you're getting your advice from. So, with that being said, I am a histrionic individual. So I am, in a nutshell, very showy and self-interested. As well as being, supportive of of individuality. So I am not here to tell you who to be. I am telling you what will best. I'm hopefully advising you in what will best help you shine. That's my whole goal. At least if I wasn't doing this for you, or if I do nothing for anybody else, I'm doing this for me. This is my process, my healing process into shining, basically. So if you are watching this and you're not interested in being similar to me, then this is not the video for you. I'm giving you advice that would help me. Okay? I'm histrionic, so it's about me. Okay? Yeah, I've talked about this before, but I think that it would be lovely if everyone was as histrionic as me. I said it, I described it as being like part of the X-Men. We all have a costume, we all have a name, we all have a superpower, and we're all in control of our identity's autonomy. So you never see Storm telling Nightcrawler what outfit they should wear, and vice versa. Very much the same thing. So if you're interested in that type of dynamic where it's a group of freaks, being who they are and learning how to accept them, then welcome. You are close to, if not exactly, a histrionic like me. And it is wonderful to have you here. Your difference makes my difference shine, and I hope that my difference makes your difference shine as well. It's very much like a bouquet of flowers, but a whole bunch of different colors. And I feel like the blue flower makes the red flower look more red, and the red flower makes the blue flower look more blue. And I think that's really nice. So whatever color you are, I hope that it makes me look a little bit more pink, or, whatever color lots of pink. I love pink. I'm a pink girly. So yeah, that's all I'm doing here. So if my audience turns out to be only histrionics, I wouldn't have no problem with that. I would no problem with that. Um, I think a little bit of social enjoys it, a little bit of borderline enjoys it. Um, we are very similar in our levels of agreeability and extroversion. We're all three of those personalities that I just described are high in extroversion and agreeability. So I do think that is a little bit of a spectrum between the three of them. I feel as though that I could move from histrionic to borderline or to social. The difference between them, if you're curious, the difference between them is that histrionic, though they're high in extroversion and high in agreeability, their focus is on extroversion. So this is standing out. Their interest is being confident in expressing themselves, what they love to do, how they look, all that other stuff. Very extroversion type of energy. Compared to the borderline, their focus is on agreeability. So this is the helper. This is someone who's proud of their ability to help other people. I would say it's, yeah. If histrionic is about vanity, then borderline is about pride. And in a good sense. Both of these are on a good sense because they have high agreeability, all right? You can be a misaligned one of these two, but I think that's more of a reaction to your environment than something that is core to your personality. And social is high in both but has no priority. All right. So if you were histrionic like me, you're like, maybe I should like relax and let other people have like the stage and like, have other people shine. I just want to be like part of the party. I don't have to be the star of the party. I don't have to be the most noticed person in the party. Then while you're doing that, you're bringing yourself more in a line of social, all right? As long as you still wear your outfit or whatever it is, then you talk about yourself, but you don't try to draw the focus, basically. Like when I'm out and I'm not wearing this big old pink hat, then I'm a little bit I'm a little bit more social. You can look over at someone else. Maybe someone else is looking a little bit more extravagant than I am. It doesn't mean that my natural state isn't histrionic. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to go back and be like, okay, I'm going to put the hat on now. Now I want the attention. But every once in a while, you can go into a little bit like of a neutral mode without losing your extroversion or your agreeability. If you lose your extroversion or agreeability in any sense of into a certain degree, you will move on to a different section of the 12 personality types. They're sectioned off into fours. I don't suggest lowering yourself to that degree, lowering yourself into agreeability in which you are not compromising. Like you still need to be compromising. And histrionics show they're compromising in their like willingness to be like absorbed, being like, yeah, just their receptivity. What was I saying? I was talking about me too much. I got distracted. And it's very much like if I didn't want to, if I for a moment didn't want to seem as histrionic as I am, I wouldn't talk like this. I wouldn't be all dramatic and use my hands to talk about things. But look how beautiful it is when I do it. That's why I can't help but do it, because it's just so, it's such an energy, it's such an energy. If I wanted to be a little bit more borderline, then I would go around and be like, I would be like a makeup stylist, a hairstylist, or something like that, and be like, I know exactly, or like I would be like, I guess more receptive as in like someone's asking me how they would do their hair, or can you help me with their hair, and I'm like, yeah, sure, totally. Or I went around, like if I went and to like when I used to work at a mental health facility, they used to have hairstylists come in and give the clients' haircuts because they had to be at the facility for a certain amount of time, or they had limited access to outdoor activities, I suppose, or however you want to describe it. But if I was a little bit more borderline, I could take my histrionic essence and go do that. Otherwise, I could just go to a party and just be, social and schmooze and all that other stuff. Man, I sure do love talking about me. But I hope that when I talk about me, that it helps other people. That's the agreeability. If I was, high in extroversion, my priority, but if I was so low in agreeability that I become in the category of disagreeable, I would be narcissistic. And a good way of doing that is making people feel bad, or intentionally. That's like paying attention to someone else when you know that person is paying attention to you, or trying to find more attractive people to compare that other person to. Like, if I was trying to be the best at something, then I would try to humble someone. Like, if I was narcissistic and I was disagreeable, I would be trying to humble someone with my beauty instead of just embracing it. And in the way that you humble, it's like rather clear. Like, if I was a mean girl and I was like, oh, you shouldn't wear that top, it doesn't work for your like figure. If I said something like that, then I would be a narcissist. If I say something like, if I'm over here and I look like this and I say, oh my God, girl, I love your top, histrionic. And girl, I don't know what top you're wearing right now, but I love it. Love it. It looks so good on you. What you're wearing right now looks so good. I love doing that. I love doing that. I love it when someone has like a really cute bag and you know that it's a bag that they picked because of their personality. I love that. I love that. I love it when people, like if you're a person who supports a little bit of cunt in somebody, like, girl, you really worked it, that type of like, it's like almost like histrionics, almost like the drag queen personality type, where it's like they're all done up and they're all fabulous or whatever, but if you're wearing some cute shoes, I have to tell you you're wearing some cute shoes. I have to say it. Or if you're wearing something that looks so good on you, even if I wouldn't wear it, I have to say it. I gotta support the dolls. All histrionic people, dolls. I see you. You're working it. Love the hair, love the makeup, love the look. I just love it. Your energy, bombastic. All right? Girl. I love it. I need to run into some people. That's why I love the mall. But I know the mall's not a thing anymore, but I love the mall. I just miss running into people and being like, God, that's cute. Where did you get that? A narcissist won't say these things because they can't admit that you would win. They can't admit that you have some form of excess. That's the difference. So you can feel however you want about anybody. Like, if you don't like it when people show off, then you don't like when people show off. That's fine. It's not going to make me stop, but that's fine. I can respect that you don't like that. But if you're histrionic and you're worried about like, man, am I being too showy? Am I like stepping on people's toes and making them uncomfortable? First of all, if you're thinking that, then you're not. You're definitely not narcissistic, because narcissists don't think that. They definitely don't admit that to themselves. If you're worried about outshining other people, then it's not about that. I would say, from one histrionic sister to another, it's not about that. You're allowed to shine as bright as you want. The stars don't compete to see which one is the brightest. They just shine. And, sometimes there's going to be some, I don't know. I'm too focused on me to know if someone else is shining brighter than me. Right? I don't know that. But a narcissist will look, and they'll try to find that. And they'll try to throw a cloud in front of that star so you can't see it. That's what they do. So all my girlies out there, hey, if you're worried if you're doing a good job, you are. Just support yourself, support others. That's all you have to do. Support yourself and support others if you're on that side of the spectrum. Anyway, I be jabbing around. I be jabbering. I'm a chatty Cathy. What can I say? I like to talk. I love to talk about things that I think that I know about. All right, and I wanna put a little bit emphasis on that. I think I know what I'm talking about. Right? Doesn't mean I can't be wrong. But it definitely means that if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. If I'm wrong and it comes to my attention, then I will address it. I will say, well, I used to think this and now I think this. Okay, anyway, enough about me. As much as it pains me to stop talking about myself, I'm just exceptionally vain, and I support that in other people. I hope that you're just as vain. We're gorgeous. We're gorgeous. Can we walk hand in hand and be gorgeous together? I would like that. Would you like that? I hope you would. I'm hoping that you would. It's very much that big sister type of vibe. Please consider me that. I'd be so honored. I'm so honored. I am an older sibling. And I guess I do take on that energy. I'm like, girl, work it. You need help with your hair? Girl, I got you. I can put on a little bit of borderline to help you with that. And I feel like all of this, a little bit of advice is a little bit borderline of me. It's a little bit of borderline in me, but if I was exceptionally borderline, I would be like wanting to track your progress. I don't. I don't want to track your progress. If you're doing great, that's great. And if you're not doing great, that's your choice. That's how I feel about it. If you need help or advice or anything at any time, I am always here. Please leave a comment in the comment section. Find some way to get in contact with me. I will tell you exactly what I think. I will. And I'll try to do it in the most beneficial way for you, for both of us, honestly. It makes me feel good to be good. I love me. The more I can say like I'm a great person, the better I feel. It's not completely altruistic or anything like that. Again, I would say that if you're looking for that, go to the borderline individuals. This is why I'm enamored with the borderline individuals. Their selflessness and their energy to do it just seems so heroic to me. It's just gives me the shivers. Anywho, enough about my deep infatuation for the borderline individuals. Let's get into this reading. I'm going to show you the bottom of the deck, although it hasn't been prominent in how I do my readings thus far. But we have the Adolescence of Pentacles. So yeah, the energy of that is going to be someone with some energy who's organized, so they're going to be thoughtful, strategic. Yeah. They're going to be pretty strategic. They're going to be very passionate, but they're going to try to do it the right way. So, sounds like borderline to me. Anywho, our main character here is going to be represented by not our main character. Our client today for our case study is going to be the Nine of Cups. So this is someone who's going to be emotionally fulfilled, like very confident, very emotionally confident. This could be histrionic like me. Don't we look very similar, very abundant? Don't we look very abundant together? Together. That's us. This is my husband. There he is. Doesn't he look great? It's beautiful. Love him. Could be borderline as well. Could be social. Underneath, as far as their background goes, is going to be represented by the Chariot. So this is someone who is independent, again, very confident, and comforting. Again, this could be borderline. If it turns out to be borderline, I told myself that I couldn't do another one because it just does something to my energy that I just feel is just, well, I was gonna say not appropriate, but being histrionic, being inappropriate, it's kind of like my whole thing. So we'll see. I don't know. I've been today was a wonderful day. Just fabulous. So I might indulge in this. We also have, as for the aspirations, we have the Elder of Swords. So this is someone who is careful at what they say. Careful what they say. They know what to say, they know how to say the right thing, or they say, or at least for our character here, they aspire to know what to say. They want to know the right thing to say. And I would say, as a little bit of advice for anybody who might feel that way, the right thing to say is always the truth in a way that is comforting. I don't know if I always take that advice because I can be a little bit like girl get up type of energy, like snap out of it a little bit. That's just the extroversion in me. Especially when I run into a situation that's not so agreeable, then the extroversion in me gets exacerbated. And that's the same for anybody. If you're high in agreeability, but you're in a non-agreeable situation, your extroversion is going to increase if you have it. If you do not have it, then it'll decrease. You'll emphasize in whatever direction yours is. But yeah, I would say it's always the truth, and it's always the truth. And I feel like if you can get a good handle at talking about the truth in the way and so that you invoke all of the truth, you will reach this Elder of Swords type of energy. You have to say the truth in a way that's true to you. That's the conscientious part. Not everyone's going to get the truth not everyone's going to get the truth. And sometimes not everyone's going to get the truth when it comes from you. And that's okay. We all have different personality types. You don't have to be universally perfect. That's crazy. And coming from a histrionic, who would love to be universally perfect, well, I guess the obsessive would also like to be universally perfect. And I think there's a mix there. There's some overlap in these personalities. That's why I always suggest do your own research. The more sources you get, the better. The more things resonate, the better. The world is a little bit like an echo chamber. The more you hear it, the more you think it. The more you think it, the more you hear it. You say it, hear it, think it, hear it, say it, think it, all that little loop or whatever. And when things are misaligned or trying to throw you off course, they'll be rather apparent. So yeah, this is someone who's looking for the right thing to say. So again, I think this is borderline. We also have the Magician, contrasted by the Four of Swords. So this is borderline. This is someone who can make miracles happen because they have the energy to do it, and they want to do it for other people. They have the energy to do it. That's the extroversion. They have the willingness to do it for others. That's the agreeability. And they also are looking for a level of peace, comfort. They want a time they don't want to be the hero all the time. They don't want to be doing all 12 trials of Hercules all the time. Sometimes they want peace every once in a while. Who doesn't, right? Except for some people. Some people don't. But this individual does. This particular borderline individual does. They're so wonderful. They're just so wonderful. On the side of the magician, where they're doing everything, can do anything, they make miracles happen. Uh, who? It just makes my heart pound. um, we also on the side of on the side of them being the magician doing everything, we have the Eight of Swords and the Tower. Now eights are all about impulse, so this is someone who's like kind of stuck in hero mode, like they have to do it, and they have to do it to prevent the Tower from happening. They don't want things to be terrible, kind of like contrasted or emphasized by their kind of desire for peace. They're a little bit like, if I save the world, I can finally relax. And that is a very heavy burden to carry. If you're borderline out there and you're looking for someone to help you carry your heavy load, let me stop. Yeah, you need a little bit of peace. Sometimes a pretty thing can make you feel a little bit of peace. Just saying, just saying. If it's not particularly me, someone of this type of atmosphere could provide you something that's a little bit pleasant. There's plenty of histrionic people out there. On the side of them kind of looking for peace, looking for rest, comfort of some sort, we have the Ten of Wands and the Adult of Cups. So this is someone who kind of made it their whole like identity to be like very hardworking and going through struggles and trying to achieve this type of like social goodness, like see how good a person I am. And they really do pride themselves on doing such a thing. They can take on the burdens so they seem like super person, superwoman, superman, super person, whatever. Yeah, they just kind of want to be the hero, at least in somebody's life. And if I have to look a little bit more like a damsel, then I think I could put that costume on. Just saying. I, I said I wouldn't do this again because, you know, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. But at the same time, it's just who I am. On the side of trying to prevent disaster, we have the Child of Cups. So this is someone who's probably gone through like an emotionally taxing type of family relationship. So I would say like if you're borderline, I would check your familial relations or your long-term friends or anything like that. Or if you have a long-time lover, I would definitely check that dynamic. They could be exacerbating your need to save people, or be considered a good person or a worthy person. If you do suspect that someone is doing that on purpose, they likely are. If they are doing that on purpose, they likely are a narcissist. Narcissists can be very drawn to borderline individuals because they put so much energy into things. Maybe that's why I don't like narcissists, because you guys are a little bit like competition for me. I want the borderlines, and y'all are in the way. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe they want a narcissistic relationship. Maybe they want to have a narcissistic person as their partner, and I can't say anything about it. Whatever you decide, I support. I'm a big supporter of the borderlines. Whatever you want, even if it's not me, I support it. On the side of them trying to achieve goodness or whatever, we have the Empress. So this is someone who wants to be seen as a hero, wants to be seen as a very almost godly type of hero, very divine in their hero-ness. I'm gonna say lots of inappropriate things if I don't stop myself, but I see you. I see you. Um, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Um, for the borderlines, this will be my third video on the borderlines. Um, So, if you're interested in gaining a little bit of more information, if you haven't seen my other videos, um, feel free to check them out or not, whatever it is you want to do. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm just here to give you information. You can decide what to do with it if you want to do anything with it. What do I want to say for the borderlines? I think that the borderlines are naturally successful at promoting oxytocin. That's a willingness to listen to others, connect to others, and develop a bond to others. Again, this is like that savior type of energy. Also, that needing to keep up with your progress type of energy. So they're really good at developing oxytocin. That's their primary thing. They're also good at promoting dopamine as well. It's just not their primary thing. I would say the histrionic, their primary thing is going to be dopamine. They can also be really good at oxytocin as well, but their main thing is dopamine. So hey, dopamine girly. But I would say that you can you can stay in this energy. Again, I think you're gonna be rather balanced in both your energy itself, your willingness to help. Yeah, the action, the bodily move, like that you move your body is dopamine in itself. This is why when you're narcissistic, you're very, or not narcissistic, when you're histrionic, you're very dramatic about everything. A very shift of the hip, a turn of the head, a wave of the wrist, a flick of the wrist type of energy. So yeah, if you did want to get a little bit more into dopamine, like if you do that and you get a little bit more into dopamine, you'll become a little bit more social. And I think this is probably why I'm interested in the borderline individual. I think the combination of us will make us like just social, um, which is nice. Um, because everything is still trying to balance things out, just like kind of like what I was talking about before when I was saying, like, if you're histrionic, you're kind of worried if you're just kind of like outshining people all the time, and if that's making people feel bad. I think that like evening it out with a little bit more of your borderline energy. This is why like helping girls with, like, not girls, not just girls, but helping with like makeover type of thing where you're fabulous, but you're here to mentor people and also how to be fabulous, kind of balances things out, so you're a little bit more in the social realm and not so heavily in histrionic. If you get so heavy in histrionic that your extroversion outweighs your agreeability, again, you get into narcissist level. Same thing with borderline. If your agreeability, because that's a priority, if your agreeability gets so much higher than your extroversion, then you will become a little like avoidant, I would say, more than the other ones. It could have been dependent or stable, but I'm thinking that if you're borderline and you put a lot of emphasis on, yeah, if you put a lot of emphasis on your agreeability, you'll get into avoidant mode, and then you'll always be like worrying about whether or not you're doing the right thing, and that causes like action paralysis. Um, Lots of alarms for confirmation. But yeah, you'll get action paralysis, and so you'll start hiding parts of yourself. And yeah, you'll start hiding parts of yourself. If you did extroversion and it got too high, it would kind of skip over histrionic and go a little bit straight into antisocial, where you're going to be a little bit aggressive about everything. You're going to be a little bit like, well, no one cares anyway, so I'm going to do whatever I want to do. and so you can you can break a lot of rules, get into a lot of trouble that way, which is still very hot. I still find that very hot. Um, but that's just me. But it's not ideal. You don't want to stay there. You don't want to stay in that area because you won't find that comfort, that peace that you're looking for. Um, yeah, if you're borderline, yeah, be careful how much like dopamine, extroversion, more like all that standout type of energy, because you can get into antisocial. If you put too much emphasis on your agreeability, then you'll become more avoidant or dependent. Um, I do think histrionic is going to lean more into the dependent area just because histrionic is like almost a naturally more feminine type of personality, though it can show itself in masculine and it doesn't have to show itself femininely in masculine. Um, but yeah, if you're histrionic watching this and you're like, I wish I was like more agreeable, yeah, okay, cool. Just don't be too agreeable because then you'll be too compromising. Um, then you will kind of start losing parts of your identity. Um, and yeah, you'll get dependent really fast because you're giving all of that confidence to somebody else. Um, and you'll need to be around them all the time to feel that confidence that you would normally feel on your own. Um, what else do I want to say? Um, yeah, but you can still be, if you're borderline, you can still show a little bit of histrionic because you'll be, yeah, you could be showy like I'm the greatest. That's very histrionic energy. If you're the greatest and you're not putting someone down, that's very histrionic energy. If you're the greatest and you're putting other people down, that's very narcissistic or antisocial or even obsessive energy. Um, Obsessives is a little bit more of the neutral one, so they don't tend to do that on purpose. Um, but they are rather competitive naturally, so they imbued that type of, or embody that type of um, I'm better than everybody else type of energy. When borderline, histrionic, and social think that they're simply great. There's a difference. There's a difference between thinking you're better than other people and thinking that you're great. Um, yeah. Not to be like, I don't want to be. It's a lot easier for me to be lenient with the obsessive and the antisocial. When it comes to the narcissist, it really does trigger me. But I think that it's just a personality trait that is very inhabitable. Like that type of being in that type of relationship, being in a relationship with a narcissist is exceptionally inhabitable for me because all my greatness, all my sense of self comes from my self-esteem, and the narcissist's goal is to lower the self-esteem of those around them so that they feel higher. um, while a borderline can find themselves in a relationship with a narcissist and continue that and not really feel like, they can still feel like they're helping them even if they are taking a little bit of their self-esteem, and so they're taking away a little bit of their extroversion, so then they put a little bit more emphasis on their need to be agreeable, which makes them a little bit more dependent or avoidant. um, which is rather similar, except the dependent is very vocal about their insecurities, while the dependent is very vocal about their insecurities, but the avoidant um, hides them. That's the main difference between the two of those. Um, so, and I can imagine that. So I could see that maybe like A borderline and an antisocial might have the same dynamic that a histrionic and a narcissist might have, where the borderline will feel like all their work is for naught if the antisocial is continuously breaking rules, getting into fights, getting into trouble, something like that. They'll feel like they're failing, and that's going to ruin the borderline's heroic self. If you know, if that makes sense, if I said that as clearly as I think I did. I think an obsessive is kind of bad for both. I don't know. We're not talking about both of them right now, but well, I am. But for the borderline, the obsessive is going to be in a little bit of an issue because it's the borderline's going to feel like never good enough, can like almost a hamster on a wheel type of thing. So they can get burnt out really fast. And then as soon as they stop putting in that effort, the obsessive is going to be like, see, you don't do anything for me because you're not doing anything for me right now. This is a type of energy. Yeah. I would say that a borderline and social is good. A borderline and social is good. But I do think a social and a social is ideal. It's good, of course. I think a social is good for a histrionic as well. But there's just something about that kind of like puzzle piece type of energy that the borderline and histrionic give each other that is just so very appealing to me. I do think that the borderline and histrionic compared to the social, his borderline and histrionic are going to be a little bit more of the damaged goods type of energy. Not to like shame myself or anything, but they can be rather sensitive compared to the social personality trait. This is why it's kind of good to get on that social level if you can, if you want to. You don't have to. I'm not. I'll think about it. I'll think about if I want to do that or not. But I'm just very in love with the drama being histrionic. Like the self drama, the drama that involves nobody else type of drama, the imaginative type of theatrical drama. Love that. And I think that borderline also enjoys a little bit of like coming to the rescue type of drama. They like, and I think that's why histrionic and borderline work really well together, because it's drama, but in an almost controlled sense. It's very much they can play hero and damsel or whatever, if those are too gendered for you. They can play those roles, and they can have a lot of fun with that. The borderline in any of I'm trying to think of names for these sections. I think it would be easier to find a way to name them, but then I'll have to make a whole chart and have to show you guys so you know what I'm talking about. But there's a section that includes paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal, and these are low in extroversion and low in agreeability. I think for the borderline, these can be interesting because you can feel like you're saving them. The only problem is that they're probably going to get a little bit irritated with trying to be saved. So I'd be mindful of that. They're low in extroversion and low in agreeability. So for the borderline, it would be just kind of like as an ego boost. They don't really get too much of a benefit from them. Being low in extroversion and low in agreeability means that they're going to be low in dopamine and low in oxytocin. They might be just fine in serotonin, but again, serotonin is simply a basis. I'm going to start focusing a little bit more on dopamine and oxytocin compared to serotonin. I might also call dopamine Aphrodite Pandemonia and oxytocin Aphrodite Urania. If you're interested in those terminologies, they're available on the internet. It's, those two things go together. Aphrodite Pandemonia is going to be hot and heavy, and Aphrodite Urania is going to be very sentimental and close. Okay. I think for the borderline, when it comes to another section with the dependent, avoidant, and stable, again, this can increase the borderline's ability to help, or a sense of helping, or that heroic type of energy in them. But again, it's not really going to be a give and take, a back and forth. It's going to be give, give. With a stable, because they don't feel a sense of drama. They don't indulge in a sense of urgency, I think would probably be a good word since we're talking about borderline. So they lack a little bit of passion. So if you're borderline and you believe that passion is a language of love, then, or if passion's a love language to you, then I don't really suggest a stable personality as a potential partner. I think that a borderline independent are going to fight to be the most useful person in the relationship, which could be, could be fun. You could get a lot of things out of that. If it's a competition of who can give the most, that could be beneficial. If it's borderline and avoidant, it's going to be a little bit like pulling teeth. I think the avoidant is going to enjoy that attention, but they're not going to be able to kind of give it. And the dependent is also not going to be able, the dependent could feel bad that they can't keep up with you as a borderline, so they can fall really into victim mode, and so they can kind of stop giving you things that way. They can start becoming a little bit more stagnant in the relationship. So I'd be wary of that. If you can control that as a borderline individual, you might be able to save that off a little bit. But that lack of confidence in the three of those groups is going to be an issue at some point. And of course, with the other three, including narcissistic personality, antisocial personality, and obsessive personality, this is going to be a little bit of, they're going to kind of run you through the ringer type of energy. They're always going to be pushing your boundaries, your limits, your strengths, your patience. They're going to be pushing a lot of that. So yeah, should I pull out some gratitude cards? Yeah, let's pull out some gratitude cards. I mean, if someone said, Evangeline, you have to stand here and talk 6 hours straight about borderline individuals, I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. Do I get some water? I could do it. I could do it. Do I get a potty break? I could do it. I could do it. If you're saying I don't get a potty break, I could still do it. I could still do it. So when it comes to gratitude, I got that in plenty. I do want to say that your natural inclination could be like, well, yeah, I guess I said that already. Like your natural inclination can be borderline, but your environment can try to enforce a different personality type on you. Usually, if you're borderline, they try to force avoidant energy on you. They try to tell you, basically they try to tell you you're crazy for feeling so much. So they tell you to stop it. So then you get into avoidant mode. I don't suggest staying in avoidant mode because, yeah, again, you won't have access to everything you want. All right, I'm just gonna pull 4, and then the bottom of the deck we have the 2 of Cups. See, this is me, the histrionic, and this is you, the borderline. And you know, up here is our love. Because we love each other. Anyway, I mean, I love you. I don't know how you feel, but um, we have here. Let's start with the 8 of Pentacles. So this is again a very hardworking energy that it really is the energy of like I want to make this relationship work, and that is just like got me head over heels, head in the clouds. I'm on cloud 9 about that type of energy. And then we have on the other side we have the 5 of Cups. So this is someone who's rather sensitive. They get their feelings hurt, and you know, when something hurts, nothing like a little kiss to make it feel better. It's from a histrionic, of course. Not that the kiss has to come from a histrionic, but my mindset is, you know, a little bit of affection will help with the pain. You know, that's just me. We also have the 10 of Swords. So this is someone who can get really defeated, and it's a big trait of borderline personality disorder, of just kind of like ruining the situation because they imagined a rejection, a form of rejection. So yeah, this is someone who can catastrophize things, big stakes, really big stakes, really big stakes. Which is like I can see why the Elder of Swords showed up as like an ambition or a goal, trying to know exactly what to say. And I really do think that the borderline think it's about what they say or how they communicate, because they're so heavy in the ability to produce oxytocin in themselves and others, that it feels like it's a more of a communication type of thing. It's not like histrionic where it's like, well, if I put on a really cute outfit, then you'll be all over me. You know, it's not like, you know, it's not like that. It's more of like it's like trying to be vulnerable, to explain their inner world, honestly. So yeah, they can be really hard on themselves when they think they did something wrong. It can be they can go through a complete meltdown if they feel like they did something wrong or disappointed someone that they care about. And this is why it's really important to, if you're in a relationship with a borderline individual, it's really important to show your gratitude. It goes a long way, let me tell you. I have I have a family member who is on the borderline spectrum, and it's just so wonderful to give praise to that particular family member. And they deserve it. They deserve it. They're doing so much work that no other personality type is doing. So, and as a histrionic, I love to compliment. I love, because it's like it's and not romantic just as in like a relationship wise, but romantic as in it adds a little bit of poetry to life. To be very like um to be like kind of like overly grateful, to be so dramatically grateful in a really authentic way, like, and really give clear descriptions on what it is that you're thankful for, and how that could only come from someone with that personality type. It goes a long way. I have an amazing relationship with someone who I believe, and they agree, they are on the borderline spectrum. And then we also have the Adolescent of Cups. So this is someone who is like really, really passionate in, you know, um, or at least like this is, as far as gratitude goes, like this is someone who will love you, who will love you, who will love you. And with love like that, like as a histrionic, I could, it's crazy for me to say, but with something like that, it kind of it kind of eases the need to have an audience, because that's is like, a million people can give you a little bit of affection, a little bit of affection, but it doesn't compare to full blown affection. Nothing does. Nothing does. And so yeah, it's nice to have that in a family member. Yeah, exceptionally grateful for that. But having that in a life partner, I'm telling you, soulmates. Um, soulmates. Okay, well, I think that might be all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't enjoy the video, that's totally your choice. And, I completely respect it. I don't know why I blinked there, but I completely respect your choice. Sorry for the pause. I hope that it came off as sincere as I hope it did, but I do respect your opinion, your discernment. What you like is what you should like. What you don't like is what you shouldn't like. Okay? I also want to say I hope that you have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night. If you do not wish to have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, and night, again, that is totally your choice. And again, I completely respect it. I hope that well, I already said that. But until next time, guys, I'll see you.